Good morning. Let's make a pie crust. And this is my foolproof recipe that I got from George, my neighbor, that my cat's named after. So it's 2 cups of flour, 1 cup Crisco, it has to be Crisco, 1 teaspoon salt, and then later half a cup of water and 1/4 cup of flour. And I will show you how I do it. So I have 1 cup of flour in here. As you can see, here's the 2nd cup, and I always scrape the top and get flour everywhere. Then it says the Crisco, but I'm going to do the salt next. 1 teaspoon. And I stick it in there. Oops. Pull it out. Dump. My handy dandy mixer. So here's, I just mix the dry ingredients. And then I need my 1 cup of Crisco. So, I got this spatula, I don't know what, a feed store or something. I keep this to grease pans or stuff with, but anyway. So, I cram it in there, trying not to get bubbles. So I pack it in tight. Because if you get a bubble in there, well, then you don't get your 1 whole cup. And just keep going. And you overfill after you pack it down. And then what's nice about this spatula is it scrapes straight off the bottom. And then I put back what I don't want. Next problem, you're getting this into there. So I take my spatula and just go around, and there I got most of it. And I'm hoping that there was no bubble, but it looks pretty good to me. So then get that floury and get that off the spatula as much as I can. Then you're going to cut it in. Now you can use forks or knives, but this is what I do. I got these 2 as a set. This is a bench scraper, and it is indispensable with cleanup too. So I just cut it all in until it looks like little peas or something. And you want to be sure you do this stage right and well. So this pie crust you can handle quite a bit, and it stays flaky and doesn't get hard as a rock. But if you're going to do the hard as a rock recipes, be sure you do this stage really well. See, they're breaking up. See, there's a big one though. And every once in a while, I'll take that and just scrape it out of the pastry blender and get it going again. Get to the bottom and all the sides and hunt down all that fat to cut into the flour, because it's the fat that makes the flakes. Alright, that's good enough. And get all the bits out. Set that aside. I want all the parts, so we take a 1/2 cup of water and a 1/4 cup of flour. And just because I don't like messing up tons of dishes, that's still clean because that was just water. And then I take the 1/4 cup of flour, and you stir these 2 together. This is the big secret and the big difference of most pie crust, all the pie crust recipes I know. This recipe came from a woman's mother, and this woman worked on the ferries, and back when they cooked all the meals on the boats, and you could get breakfasts and lunches and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, she'd make the pies, and she used her mother's pie crust recipe. So now this is pretty well mixed. The water, of course, has to be cold because you cannot mix flour into hot water. All right. So now, pour a little bit, drag it around, a little bit more, where the dry spots are. And I'm just going to dump all of it. And see, I can get in here and get pretty daggone rough. I love this recipe. And now you have to get all the dry pretty well incorporated, and I'll smash it together. And I mean, you're not going to turn a mixer loose on this like a KitchenAid or something, or I don't even use a food processor. But anyway, so then what I will do is gather it up. Here's the messy part. Push it together. And what you can do now is, if you can get it into a ball, if I had the flour drawer open, I would flour my hands. But anyway, you get it into a ball, and I let it rest in the refrigerator. A, it likes to be cool, and B, the flour will absorb all the liquid. And, you know, just kind of, it rests. You don't want to develop the gluten in the flour. Gluten is what makes things stretch, like when you make bread and that kind of thing. And it holds structure. So, I'm going to let this cool. After I cool, what I can do, and I probably won't film it because I've got to make dinner here pretty soon, I will cut it in half. And if I have a 2-crust pie recipe, here's the bottom crust, and here's the top crust. If I'm just making a 1-crust pastry, I will take this and pat it into a disc, wrap it in saran wrap or a bread wrapper, and fold it tight and freeze it. And when you're ready to make your next pie crust, all you have to do is thaw it out. You could thaw it overnight in the refrigerator, or thaw it, you know, in the morning and make your pie later. You're ready to go. It's so nice, and it's cheap. You don't have to buy, you know, pre-made things that don't taste very good. I mean, this tastes really good, and it'll get little bubbles in it, you know, just like the regular flaky stuff. Regular. It is regular. So I filmed rolling it out for a pie plate, and I pulled it out of the freezer, and it was actually a different recipe. But the technique will be the same for rolling it out and putting it in your pie crust. Oh, I forgot to show you why I love bench scrapers. You can scrape up your pie crust and fold it into quarters and move it to your pie plate. And then for cleanup, look at this. After you've rolled it out, lots of times it just sticks to your countertop. Now look at that. And then I just scoop it off into my hand. Ta-da! Clean. So now I'm ready to roll out my pie crust. I pulled it out of the freezer and I thawed it. And I'm going to get out the flour and sprinkle that around. Spread it around pretty thickly. This is going to be for later. And your rolling pin. Shut the flour out. Now, take it out. This has been overnight in the refrigerator. And I just kind of pat it around. Because you want it to be able to move on the board. And so I take it from the center and roll out and try to get it round. So, still a little cold, which is good because then the butter doesn't melt. So I got to press pretty hard. And I'll take it and push it around some more. And it'll warm up as I roll it thinner and thinner. So it's a pretty big chunk, really. I used the other half in another pie, so that's why this was in the freezer. I bumped it with my thumb when I went across there. So, but see how it kind of moves with the flour on the marble? I'm lucky I have marble. That's why I really wanted this house, is because I wanted a marble. And then I'll just take it kind of like that because I want plenty of flour. keep rolling it out. And I'll take my pie plan and I go, see, it's not big enough. So I keep rolling. And it just keeps moving out on the flour and making it round as I can. Try not to take forever in a video. This isn't my usual recipe, but this rolling out of pie crust is all the same. So that will work plenty. Then I put my roller there. Maybe I should do it here so you guys can see better. And I roll it over the roller and I kind of lift up so I don't just roll it into itself. Pick it up. Hang on, guy. I don't usually do it this because I don't usually move that, but I wanted you to see that. And I lay it about where I want it. You can scooch it around. It still feels pretty thick, but I will trim it. Usually I just fold it under, but I think I'll trim this. This makes it easy. And then I roll this out, sprinkle it with sugar and cinnamon, and then that's just good for snacks. Especially if you have sharks in the house that want to eat your pie dough, like husbands and kids. So I can just roll that out and put that on. Then I turn this under and make a dam so that all your yumminess stays in there, whether it's apples. I'm making pumpkin pie because I'm going to have company over. Okay, so you can either go like this, take your fingers and push like that, or you can pinch, whatever you feel like. Make all kinds of fun designs going around. But the idea is just to make something pretty that kind of holds it all together. Because I'm pinching that roll, I have to do it at this angle. But see, it keeps that roll all together. Then, since I'm going to do a filled pie, not a two-crust pie, I don't use the weights, but I take this and poke all the way through, and this releases heat and doesn't have it bubble up when as you bake it, because as you pre-bake it before you fill it, it will puff and bubble and, you know, like a baked product. And so I poke it a lot and on the edges. So I poke it till it looks like that. And then apple pies, as you can see how old it is. It's the Better Homes and Gardens all-time favorite pies. And you can see how often, that's my apple pie one. My neighbor told me about this, George, who George the cat's named after. And he was famous for his apple, and now where's the lemon? And lemon pie, cream pie, and that was his lemon pie. Oh, and that's what it looks like. Oh boy, it's good. I love lemon. But I'm making the pumpkin. I always store my cans upside down. Okay, so I bake it at bake the pricked pastry, that's hard to say, and 450 degree oven for 10 to 12 minutes, or until it's golden, and then cool on a rack. And if you don't have a rack, I stick it on my stove top without any burners being warm. And that's how I do a baked pie crust. So until next time, enjoy your pies. Bye-bye.